Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Peter Lindsay, and I am running for president for the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm a graduate of Howard University and emergent from DC. Well, I'll just give you a little bit of background about me. I'm speaking to you as a presidential candidate today, but really I've always been an organizer first. I joined the Philadelphia Student Union, which was a citywide student-run political organization in 1996 when I was a middle school student. We organized rallies, sit-ins, and even a 2,000-student walkout to demand more money for our majority-black Philadelphia public schools. In September 2001, I was a 17-year-old living in Washington, D.C. when I began volunteering with the ANSWER Coalition, which stands for Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, just days after it formed. I spoke out as a high school student organizer at ANSWER's first national press conference, and I co-chaired the September 29, 2001 National Anti-War Rally, which was the first mass action in the country after the 9/11 attacks. And we brought 25,000 people to Washington, D.C. to say no to the invasion of Afghanistan and no to the racist demonization of our Muslim and Arab brothers and sisters here and around the world. So for over a decade, through my work with ANSWER and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, I have helped to lead countless demonstrations across the country against imperialist wars, racism, budget cuts, tuition hikes, police brutality, and in support of immigrant rights and women's rights. I participated in Occupy LA. I was a central organizer in the Million Hoodies March in Los Angeles, where 4,000 people came to Pershing Square to demand justice for Trayvon Martin. And most recently, I and other PSL organizers stood with the people of Anaheim against the racist brutality of the police force there. So, I'm telling you this not just so you can know more about me, I'm also telling you this to let you know what my party, what the Party for Socialism and Liberation is all about. We are a party of struggle primarily. We believe in building the mass movement. Throughout history, every progressive change that we won in this country was never just handed over by some benevolent politician.